Alright, there we go. A bit too loud now. There we go, cool. Alright, we're just looking at Lab Padre's view for the upcoming IFT-4. And oh, we're both live on both Discord and YouTube too. Okay. That's actually very good. Cool. Got two screens up and running. I should have gotten my other laptop running, but oh well. Still got 1 minute 15. Nah. I think we'll switch to NASA spaceflight's view later on. There's a bit of a chatter on that one, so but we're just looking at Lab Padres on the rover cam just by the launch site. So yeah. Chatter. Okay. I should. Hang on. I can't capture the second screen. But it's not going to work. Oops. What did they remove that? I didn't want to do that. Oh my gosh. Alright, can we full screen this first? Ah. Okay, not much happening on and it's a straight slide, that's alright. I still like this at the moment. That there's Not much happening on the other one. It's a bit noisy. Yeah, it's a bit noisy on our side. Chopsticks are open. Good sign. So good for that one. Well, propellant loading has already started ages ago, so well, unless they begin at 1 hour. Sorry, it's my first time trying to signal the times and everything. So yeah. Hmm. God. All right, so we'll be back on probably half an hour. I'll take. We'll just keep this. I'll change the chat, the audio to NSF's one, so you guys can listen to that.
We are about an hour and 10 minutes away from seeing a rocket that we know a lot more about now than we did on the first flight test, from hopefully lifting off the pad. And what you're going to see down below, we're getting so much support this morning that we can't possibly acknowledge everybody. But what we're doing is we're going to be running all of the support that you're providing to the channel down below there, and we will try to acknowledge as many as we can as we're going, because we just can't read them all out, but we do greatly appreciate everyone contributing today, because that really does help make coverage like this possible. You have no idea how much goes in to this behind the scenes, as I'm keeping an eye on things on the Discord here. It's amazing how many folks are working hard today for this coverage. These cameras are all ours, so this is not easy to do. So we've got a special camera. I don't even know what this is, but I was told in the back channel that there's a special thing out there. So I don't know if they're ready to cue that special camera or not, but I'm going to
Oh,
look at this.
what's
Are we
this?
airborne?
That's very much airborne. I think this is,
Huh.
if I interpret this correctly, this is a drone outside of course, the area where you're not allowed to fly a drone, just to the west of the launch site. This is basically from Jack, a feed over our riverside, which basically looks into the direction of the launch site. So basically, this looks into the direction of the Gulf of Mexico. And this is
And it's
amazing.
looking, yeah, it's very amazing. That's awesome. And we are keeping this far away from the danger
Is
zone.
it tilting down to our side?
I think it's tilting down to our side. I think we are about to see where
Yeah.
our folks are.
Oh, almost. But yeah, it's outside of the danger zone of the TFR, the temporary flight restriction for this flight. So yeah, we're trying to play by the rules, folks. So But if this works, that way, that
Is it-
direction that you see there, that's where the launch pad is. There's a little bit of haze, but should be clearing up.
So
I don't know if
again,
remember
it'll
this
work
whole
live, but we'll see.
remember this whole thing that Lon just said about the crazy things we can do because of your support. Well, how about that? That's one
How
of
about
these
that?
crazy things that we can do.
Exactly.
And it gets crazier
Need
each
to-
time, and it's
Yeah.
I got to spend some time with Das, and it was we were at KSC. The amount of work that goes into keeping all this stuff running is insane. So again, thank you all for that support, and we'll keep running everyone's names down here, and we'll definitely take some more questions and acknowledgments as we roll our way through here. So I was looking, if you look on this
there
drone
we go.
footage, gentlemen, there we go. Is
That's
that
our
danger
site.
trailer? So there,
Yeah.
that's our
That's-
spot. So
That's our site. That's the
river
river
site.
site, as we call it, which
Yeah.
where we now fly. Oh, this
Are
is
we?
interesting.
Ooh, we're
going in.
flying.
Oh, this is cool.
we're coming
We're
in
gonna
hot.
have like
Yeah,
a
that's-
like a in the field flyover.
You can see the amount of cars here that from the team that are there. This is just
Is the van still
basically-
there?
Yeah, I think so. This is just behind the behind the hard roadblock.
Oh, dear
Basically,
Lord,
and
it's
there
still
you can
there.
see them all.
Wave at the camera if you're listening to us. There
There
you
we
go.
go. Hey, they're waving. Hey, there they are. And they've
This is
been out
amazing.
here all night. They have not slept. In that, I imagine it gets pretty hot in that container too. So
Yeah.
look at that.
Yeah.
Now I want to go visit.
Com-
Put me over there. I'll spend
at
some time
that.
in that container.
That's
look
the
at that.
production side. You can see all of the base and everything. That's the scale.
That's your launch simulator. Look how fast that goes.
Yeah, this is just to confirm. This is outside of the TFR and operated by a commercial drone pilot. So we did our homework here. Everything is exactly as you're allowed to do it, and this is outside of the TFR with a commercial drone pilot. So just to confirm that here on air.
And we're going to get some awesome footage from that drone, no less, and hopefully in about an hour and 6 minutes. So we're getting closer to T0. Alex, what's going on at the pad right now? We see venting. Are we fueling now, or are we in that pre-fueling phase?
Well, right now we should not be in the fueling phase, even if they were to still target 7:50 a.m. Central, because that would mean we will be very, very ahead of the game. So if they are tracking 7:50 a.m. Central, we will have had the go no go poll sequence for propellant load from the flight director about 10 minutes ago at the T-1 hour and 15-minute mark. And the thing with the Starship and pretty much every other SpaceX flight lately is that we don't have an access to the countdown feeds, right? And so we are right now just waiting either for certain vents and other indicators to come up, essentially saying, okay, now it's the time to go for propellant load and things like that, or SpaceX themselves posting on X that they are indeed going for propellant load. If they don't do that, though, we have those signs, those different vents and everything that we can look for and try to figure out whether we are indeed loading or not. The first time that any propellant will be loaded onto Starship will be at T-minus 49 minutes. That is when the ship fuel load will start. That is the liquid methane load onto the ship. And so we are essentially, in theory, and the Starship team is go for prop load from SpaceX
right.
just right now. So
Which
we have
which
confirmed
probably
that
means they're
propellant
still
load.
which probably means they're still on the LT0 because that poll for propellant load was at T-minus 1 hour and 15 minutes, right? Can I have?
Yep.
Do I get the timeline? But I think that was 1 hour and 15 minutes. So with that, they are moving through the timeline here.
Yep.
And it seems we are on for in 1 hour and 3 minutes. So what will happen now is we will see one more drastic increase in the chill down of the lines, which will be signified. My God, my German coming through. Signified by the tower, by the pad vent becoming completely crazy. And there's the timeline, by the way, amazing. I love it. And then we see all the steps going through here. And we can check off one more, which is the verifying for propellant load. And again, this pad vent will become what we call waterfall mode, where it goes basically completely insane. It will be a
If you
lot of
notice,
oxygen. Oh god.
the tower vent
The
has become weakened, which is a normal
which is
thing,
good.
right? Exactly, because the tower and the tower and OLM vents both have different behaviors, as I was explaining before. The tower vent comes up first. It's very like, not a crazy vent kind of thing. It's just normal. Then it dies off a little bit, just like now. It's like idle. It's not venting heavily or anything. But then a few minutes later, I think in about 10 minutes or so, it'll come back again and it'll be very, very more active, become very powerful, and you'll see like this sort of cape coming out from the like a plume of venting coming out from the tower, and it's super amazing when we get to see that, by the way, because it's very epic. It's a very big rocket, very big launch tower, and of course, very big venting coming out from that tower. We'll see that hopefully in just a few minutes. In the meantime, the OLM vent, the behavior of that one is it starts very weak and then it starts growing and growing and growing, and then it just begins this. It just becomes this big waterfall of venting coming out from the um, from the OLM. But I believe we have something.
And weather
No, we don't
today
have it.
is
We don't
well,
have
we'll
it.
have it soon.
Okay, exactly.
Weather
We're about
today.
to, but not yet.
Yeah, I just wanted to comment quickly on the weather because as we saw from that drone shot and here looking at this, excuse me, I have Connecticut allergies here, so I need to go to Texas. What we're seeing is a bit of an overcast sky, but I'm guessing that's going to burn off because the weather is what 95% favorable here, so the weather's an issue.
Yeah, the
I don't know.
SpaceX has confirmed that the weather is all no issue. We have talked a lot about it, like a bit earlier. Looking at all weather indications, we look to be good on the overall flow of what's happening here. The wind is very much chilled down. There's some clouds in the area, which could be interesting, but usually these don't, like, so far we have not seen any indication that's like, I don't know, like completely crazy lightning storms in the area. So based on anything we have seen and also this confirmation from SpaceX, weather will indeed not be a showstopper for today.
And it looks like we are go for propellant load. We are 1 hour now out from the new T0 time, which I believe is 7:50 Central, which still gives us about 90 minutes or so, give or take, of margin if they need to push back at all. But it looks looking pretty good here, everybody. So this looks very much the same as what we've seen on prior test flights. And we think about this as being Starship Flight 4, but as far as this exercise of fueling and stacking, this is probably in the dozens already, Alex, isn't it? Insofar as that routine is concerned. And Alex is checking something. I'll toss it to Adrian.
No, it's because I had to reach for the mute button.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, when I'm doing a thousand things at the same time, trying to track multiple stuff, it becomes a little bit harder to go to the unmute button. But yeah, the thing is this whole procedure of loading propellant. It all began. The first wet dress that we saw was January, I think, 23rd, 2023, with Booster 7 and Ship 24, and that was a long time ago, right? And they have modified so much the tank farm, the vehicles, the propellant load sequence. Even though they have done that, right? Today we could still see some kind of issues with the propellant load sequence, and you know, so far Flight 3 was very smooth. The only concerns at one point were the winds and the range. Those were two concerns, but not the vehicles, so that was good. For Flight 2, I believe there was like a small hold at the T minus 40-second point, right? We'll talk about that later. But there was like a very small, it was like a few minutes, and yeah, that is. By the way, I'm just seeing the tower vent is coming back, so that's a good sign that we're proceeding. We should be having that propellant load sequence starting in less than 10 minutes. So that's on track essentially with what we've seen in previous propellant loads. That's also one of the things that we get to see is that because we've seen already wet dress rehearsals for this stack actually 2 times, we've seen these 2 vehicles proceeding with a full stack propellant load sequence. We know already when things are going to happen, so we can adjust and being able to know what's going on.
All right, and I think we might have something now that we did not have a second ago. So I'm being cute here. So we are less than 1 hour to launch, and I'm curious, are you guys both ready, Alex?
Well, I'm ready to go. I mean, yes, let's do it.
How about you, Adrian?
I mean, it's honestly getting real again. It's this moment when you look at the countdown clock and you see there's no hour anymore at the first.
Yeah.
There's double zeros at the beginning, and that's always when I'm just ready. I want this to fly.
I was thinking, should we do like a go poll? I'm go.
I absolutely go, but I think I would rather have some propellant into that stack first before we send it.
A vehicle needs to be go, of course. Let's
right.
get to that.
But I'm always go. So when they bring me out, I'm the go. Like when I'm out, that means it's getting close. So yeah. So we've and I think Kevin in back in the back production room there. Are we ready for the thing? We are. Excitement guaranteed, everybody. We are under an hour now to the T0 time. That pumped me up. I'm ready to see some rockets launching here.
That was cool.
That was really cool. SpaceX should use that. Let's get pumped up here. So we've got our ship 29 on the top of the booster there. We are just under an hour now to the announced T0 time. We don't get SpaceX comms anymore, so what we've been relying on is the expertise of our panel here, Adrian and Alex, to look for milestones that we're seeing here at the pad. We're seeing a lot more venting. Alex, I'm going to toss it to you first, and then to Adrian. What are we looking at here at 55 minutes down? I see a lot of fog. That's a good sign.
Yeah, that's always a good sign. You know, cloud report. There's a lot of clouds, and they're coming all from the tank farm. That's always good. You can see there that tower vent becoming more active, becoming more powerful. We are 5 minutes, 45 seconds to go for the ship fuel load. That is the first step on the propeller load sequence for Starship Flight 4, where they load first methane onto the ship, and then that will be followed by liquid oxygen just a few minutes later. That'll be evidenced by that tower vent that we see right now, essentially going away. Once they start loading that liquid oxygen, that vent will disappear, and that'll be our clue. The booster load will begin a bit like a few minutes later at T-minus 40 minutes, also with the ship, excuse me, not the ship, the booster fuel load. That'll be at T-minus 40 minutes, and then followed by the liquid oxygen load at T-minus 37 minutes. So that's where we're heading to. Less than 5 minutes to go for propellant load.
And Adrian, this is like the best way I could describe propellant load is high velocity plumbing. This is the largest rocket ever, and it's 45 minutes to get it filled up and ready to go.
That's what they will do. They so basically they're kind of preparing this operations, of course, over hours. We have to emphasize that, because the thing that has happened over the last few hours is nothing else than getting this tank farm, getting this vehicle, getting everything ready for this super fast fill. And
Look at
now
the sun.
they're arriving. Yeah, that's the sun that will hopefully help us to clear some
It's
of this
orange.
humidity.
Oh, look at that.
And in 5 minutes from now, all of these preparations are kind of wrapping up. And then they are in a state where they're like, okay, it's pre-chilled, it's ready. Let's just flow propellant into this and let's get this ready. So it's kind of like we covered all of these little steps on the way here just to now experience this super fast fueling, and we might just be about 10 or so minutes away from seeing frost on these vehicles. So it's getting very, very real.
And and what's amazing is and we mentioned this at the outset here, but every time I watch this, it feels like and it kind of is the first time, right? We don't know what's going to happen. Falcon 9 is a very tried and true tested system at this point. This is completely in the test phase, and a lot of what these launches are for is for designing the future iterations of whatever Starship will end up being in its final state, and that's what makes this so exciting. So, Alex, today what we're going to see is Starship lift off the pad. A lot of what today's mission is about is not necessarily going to space. It's the coming back part that they're trying to get worked out here. So what should we be looking at?
Yeah, we'll have that return of Booster 11 and Ship 29. We'll have those landing attempts. So hopefully we get to see that. Also, I got reminded that Ship 29 has dust from the mid-bay, so we'll see also the mid-bay going to space in some shape or form. But yeah, that's essentially where we are right now. I mean,
and hey, we've got a special guest joining us from the roof of the Margaritaville Hotel, where we've got another one of our areas set up for monitoring activities at Starbase. John Krause is joining us. John, can you hear us?
Absolutely. 5x5, guys. How are you?
Excellent. You sound great up there. You're like in the next room. So we've been talking about this Starship as being, it's almost like watching it for the first time every time. You photograph just about every rocket that takes off anywhere you can get to. How does it feel for you? I mean, you've seen this before, but does this always feel this way to you too?
Yeah, I mean, Flight 4, it's still early on in this program. It's a developmental program, and every flight they're making progress. They're trying new things. So it still feels like we're in the infancy of seeing these vehicles fly. So I'd say it never gets old. Falcon Cape we're seeing every 2, 3, 4, 5 days, maybe one a week at worst lately. So the cadence here, it's ramping up, but it's still every couple months we're seeing a flight. So it's definitely exciting and fortunate to be here.
And you've photographed quite a lot. And let me ask you this: you see one rocket launch, you've seen them all. Creatively, what do you think about when trying to come up with some new idea to share with your audience?
I always look for if there's some sort of novelty in any given launch, right? So, just as an example, Artemis 1, right? It's our sort of beginning of our return to the moon in the 21st century. And the moon was out for that launch. After it delayed a couple times, it slipped into nighttime and the moon was up.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought, why not incorporate the moon? So I was able to line that up and get, the rocket crossing by the moon. So anytime I can sort of tie in an obvious novelty or aspect of a mission, that's great. For Starship specifically, one thing I'm trying to do is, and I may not be able to do it in these coming flights, but I'm trying to watch everyone from a new spot. So for the first one, I was down near Isla Blanca Park. The second one, I was over on the other side with the NASA Space Flight team. The third one, I was actually up in the air. And now this one, I'm fortunate to join the team in SPI on a rooftop, thanks to you guys. So we'll see if I can keep that up. As a non-local, it's a little bit hard because I have to travel here, not always time to scout spots. But creatively, specifically, it's going to be a little hard today. Can't see the launch site right now due to some ground haze, clouds, and fog, but we'll see what I can get.
And from an exposure standpoint, methane rockets are a little different than the type of rockets you've mostly been shooting. How's that been insofar as your planning and workflow?
For sure. I'd say for Starship, it has not been a major consideration in terms of the technical execution of the photography because these have been essentially all daytime launches. Flight 2 was just after sunrise, but from an exposure perspective, it was very close to daytime. Same with Flight 1 and Flight 3, they were both well into the morning hours. When we see the first Starship night launch or pre-dawn launch, where you're really viewing the main light source as the rocket rather than the ambient light from the sun, that's where you'll really have to start to think about exposure settings differing from typical Keralox vehicles or vehicles with solids. The one thing that's really unique about methane is it's much dimmer than these brighter, sooty burning Keralox vehicles. For example, Relativity launched Tran 1 about a year ago now, a little over a year ago from the Cape. That was a nighttime launch, so we didn't have the ambient light from the sun in the atmosphere sort of washing out that dimmer color. So we saw blues, purples, pinks, even a bit of white, maybe some orange in there. I'm not sure why the colors changed so drastically as it moved through the atmosphere. With Starship, I'd say Flight 2 in particular, beautiful pink burn all the way from ignition to most engine cut off at hot staging. That was really great. Flight 2 was the first time we saw 33 of 33 Raptors burning on Super Heavy, and that pink flame was beautiful. So hopefully we see that again today.
And I think we might. Adrian, we got some news from the pad, right?
Yeah, absolutely. They have started propellant loading. SpaceX has confirmed that they are starting propellant loading into Starship. So we are into the business end here. We will see a Frosty
Yep.
ship and booster very soon.
All right.
If you
so we
see,
will,
the tower vent has also stopped, so that means both not just methane but also liquid oxygen is flowing into the ship. We should be coming up on the booster a few minutes later, I think, if I'm not mistaken. It is a T minus 40 minutes, so 6.5 minutes from that.
All right, so the high velocity plumbing has begun. So we'll be keeping an eye on things over there. We're
Yeah.
talking to launch photographer John Kraus, who does some amazing work, and you have undoubtedly seen his work published across many different areas in print and digital and everything in between. John, also one of the things I like about your work is that you cover the human aspects of it. I know you did a lot of work on the Inspiration-4 mission, but I also see you zeroing in on the people involved. What drives you there?
I'd say my start with that was definitely Inspiration-4, and before that campaign, I was not well versed in photographing people at all. I've always liked rockets because they can't tell you that they don't like how their face looks or whatever in a given photo, right? But the opportunity to work with various astronaut crews over the last couple of years has been great, and with that, I've dived a bit more into just the general human side of spaceflight. It's just important to remember that people are doing this, right? It's easy to get attached to the spectacle of a giant rocket the size of a skyscraper flying into the sky, and it may sound obvious when you verbalize it, but people build these things, and there's a human side of the story of the blood, sweat, and tears that goes into making this happen. So anytime I can have that sort of human for scale in a photo, or people cheering at a launch or whatever it might be that involves the human element, it's just an exciting way, again, to remind folks that people make this happen. A lot of hardworking people at SpaceX and really the entire industry that makes this possible. So fortunate to tie that in when I can.
And what do you think is going to happen with this flight, John? It looks pretty good.
It's hard to say, right? You could lean either way. I think it's very promising that we haven't yet seen a regression in terms of the progress they've made each flight. That may be a little bit harder this time, right? Because they've really sort of gotten through some of the biggest hurdles. So you can kind of look at it like if there was a payload on board the last one, and could they have deployed it? Probably could do the same this time, but getting through the sort of parts of the flight that are key to reuse is going to be important to see this time. But I don't think it's the end of the world if they don't nail it this time, right? We want to see them make progress, but this is a developmental program, the scale of which we've not seen, and it's being done by a commercial company, which is pretty amazing in and of itself. So fingers crossed we see a ship make it down to the ocean in
right.
mostly one piece. I think getting back telemetry through that max heating is going to be critical. But again, I don't think it's the end of the world if we see a slight regression or if it's not a perfect flight. This is a developmental program, and they've made that very clear for a reason. So, as they say, data is key, and hopefully they learn a lot, whatever happens.
And it
And
gives us
hopefully
some
we see it.
That's right. That's right. It looks like it's still a little foggy over there. So the weather nonetheless is 95% go. So the slippage of the T0 time here might be burning some of that fog off and giving you a better view. But we know you've got planning to do here to get your shots, because you only get one shot every time one of these goes up, or maybe a couple of clicks of the shutter before it goes out of sight. So we'll let you get back to work there. Where can people find your work if they wanted to check out some of the things you've photographed?
Yeah, thanks for the opportunity to plug. John Cross Photos on X, and then johncrossphotos.com is where you can see my work, both from today and the last decade or so. And I just want to say thank you guys both for having me and for the incredible work you do. Hearing you guys talk about, when the venting stops on the tower and when stuff gets loaded, it's just incredible that you guys track this stuff. And being around your team today and seeing the stream architecture you have to enable this is inspiring, and it's a great service to the community, as I think Eric Berger wrote earlier. So just want to thank you guys, and good luck with the stream today.
And thank you, and we look forward to seeing what you captured today. And that fog will be gone. Trust me, it'll be
Yes,
clear. Hopefully,
it's clearing as we
clear
speak.
Skies. All right, we'll let you get
guys.
back to work there. And thanks for joining us, John Krause, launch photographer, does some great work, and it's always great to have all the different folks who make up our fun community of space enthusiasts join us to talk about things. So yeah, it's kind of fun, and I really like. I've taken attempts at launch photography, and it's kind of like fishing. it's difficult, and sometimes you get a real good one, and other times not. So it's not an easy task. Alex, have you ever tried? You haven't been down here yet, have you? To see a launch.
I haven't. I haven't seen a launch, and I'm itching to get to one.
We got to get you to one.
Yeah, I learned for myself. It's very much like fishing, because the one time I saw a launch, I very much also just there's like this shaky video of me with my phone camera, and that's it. And I believe we have a frost ring on Starship.
Right. There it goes. You can actually almost see it moving up the side there.
Yep.
So we've got a very fast rate of fill. Now, what goes in first, Alex?
Well, on the ship, it is first the fuel, essentially the methane, and then the liquid oxygen. This is the frost that you see there. It's in the liquid oxygen tank. It is the bottom tank of the ship, and we should probably see a similar frost ring already on the methane tank, if I'm not mistaken. Also, very soon we shall see the same on the booster, and then the last tank where we'll see any frost will be on the liquid oxygen tank of the booster. So that's sort of the order of frost. We also get to know, from previous tests, where to see things first, and then later, and the rundown of events, essentially. But yeah.
Now, Adrian, I remember going to the Artemis launch, and fueling was an hours-long activity, and we had all the drama related to leaks and frozen valves and everything else. This happens a lot quicker.
Yeah, it's also a bit of different philosophy that SpaceX has versus a lot of other rockets, because SpaceX has this almost load and go philosophy, where they basically they load the rocket, and as soon as it's ready, let's send it. Where other rockets, Atlas, also SLS, enter top-off stages, where they just basically they cycle through a top-off sequence and basically make sure that they are at the same level for a continuous amount of time. So that's a bit different also philosophy. And yes, the countdowns of other rockets, basically kind of all other rockets have a longer countdown almost than Starship. This is almost like one of the fastest countdowns in rocketry, which is insane.
It is pretty insane. And as fast as it is fueling, it expends that fuel even quicker. So the amount of I keep using this word high velocity plumbing, but that's the only thing I can think of to describe it. I mean, these pumps they need to use to continue to supply fuel to get all 33 of those engines lit has got to be pretty immense, huh?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we saw them starting to at some points replace some of these pumps and getting them and also adding more of them. The amount of pumps they have, it's quite an endeavor. We also saw them in the past removing some of them after they have maybe not been up to the task fully. So yeah, the whole plumbing and the whole subcooling system has undergone a lot of changes and also a lot of different iterations. And it seems like they're getting there. I mean, this fueling is now 10% faster than the last one. We'll see where it ends, right?
Right, and 10% at this volume is not insignificant.
No, that's like when we are talking about 10%, like you're already in the point where you go from like 40, like 50 to 45, and like that's the area where we talk about here. There's no longer room to optimize this by, I don't know, 50%. That would
Right.
be they're already there. So we are probably not gonna see like jumps in the above a few minutes anymore, because at that point, at some point,
At
you're
some point, you hit the
basically
limits of physics. Right.
yeah. Like at some
You
point,
can only
you
pump it
basically
in.
would have to have a quick disconnect as big as your rocket. Like
Right.
that's a problem.
But I guess you work towards it. You know what your physical limits are in theory, and you try to get as close to that as possible. So we are about 37 minutes out, and we've got something to play back. We got some more goodies for you all. The team has been busy ahead of this flight here, and I guess, Kevin, we've got some behind the scenes from DWise. So we're going to roll that and show you how what goes on around here behind the scenes, I believe. There we go.
Set, though, and we have hitched up the mobile live stream trailer here to the truck. Safety chains, we checked the lights, brakes, and stuff like that. Locked in, good to go with all of that. Sorry for the shake. Don't forget the socket set. Don't forget the socket set.
I'm going for a tight, edged shot. It's one that I've always tried here at this spot, but so far it hasn't completely worked. But I just figure you keep trying it, you'll be able to break through eventually. So just gonna make sure it's in frame. Good there. Check our settings. Don't want to go too high with it. You know, they told me I'm a rocket photographer, but my real forte is cleaning solar panels.
How's your remote setup going?
It's going good. I've got a lot of cameras that are going down, but at this specific location, due to smoke from the rocket, you know, the thing that's launching, it's mostly obscured. So this is kind of more of a, you know, it's a risky shot. But if it works, it'll be really cool. But the rest of my cameras are going elsewhere.
What sort of shot is this?
This is a 16 millimeter, just a really wide shot. It's gonna have this tree in frame. It's gonna have Star Hopper and Hopper, and ideally, the idea is it's wide enough that we want the ship to be a full ship above the tower, and you know, get it above the plume.
Sean, how's your trigger working?
Okay, so I just set a GoPro on the scheduled capture to start at 7 a.m. It'll be recording 4K 120, and we're kind of just deliberating, do we want more cameras in the frame? Because then we get, you know, the camera's getting obliterated. Or do we want more sky in the frame? Because then we get the potential that it clears the plume and you get like Starship in the air, yada yada. So that's the deliberation. But I think that's what we're gonna go with. I don't know if you can pull focus on that. Here, I'll take a screenshot right now.
So it is the night before launch, and so the activity out here at the launch site has picked up a ton. There are a ton of space fans filling up, actually not right here, but everywhere down there. The highway is full of people
who want to see this rocket up close, and then bright and early tomorrow morning want to see it launch. It's currently golden hour, so we've got the sun nice and low on the horizon, casting some excellent light on the rocket. So everyone's trying to get the best photos they can before the sun sets, hopefully for the very final time on this stage.
Just give one last look here before he hopefully goes up tomorrow. So, just kind of taking it all in, taking in the sights, the sounds, everything. Trying to catch the sunset.
Sun has set, so I'm trying to get some time lapses. The beach closes at midnight tonight. There are still a lot of cars out here, as you can see. These are pretty great moments, being able to stand right near the world's largest rocket.
That was awesome. And you know, we were just talking to John Krause about passion and the people, right? And there's so much passion of the people here at NSF to bring these images to you. And I think that really, I want to see more.
Yeah, this felt like a cinematic intro to a documentary. Like, this is the kind of things you would see of like a complete crazy produced documentary. I love this. I have a new favorite video. D, absolutely amazing work from you. Thank you so much for putting this together.
And the best part is it features the people we love, the people that we know and love here at NSF that work so hard to bring this to you, and you can really feel, you know, why they're there. Looking at, I think it's more than just the rocket. It's the people and everything that goes into what spaceflight represents, which is trying to find the next chapter for our species here, and that's what this is all about. And we're about 30 minutes away from the next test flight. And you know, one thing to note, how close those cameras get. Now, everybody who was, you know, where Danger Trail, that's that trailer we call a Danger Trailer. That trailer is called Danger Trailer because it is that close to the rocket. Nobody can be near it when that happens. So all of the equipment there has to operate off the grid autonomously. It has to go off at the right time. We have some ability to remote control things, but a lot of it goes into the setup. And you saw Jack kind of planning out his shot there and the things he wanted to get into it. It's amazing. So it's just something else. So I'm excited to see what happens here. And Adrian, I wanted to chat with you a little bit about the landing attempt that they're going to make. Obviously, after the booster and ship leave the pad, that will be the last we'll see of it intact. But the plan is to try to get the booster to simulate getting grabbed by the arms on the pad, even though it's landing in the water. This is like a software simulation that it's going to run.
Yes.
Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, so we don't know the exact circumstances of how they want to perform the software, but I expect it's some sort of verification. Hey, if this telemetry would have basically be the tower, would have theoretically fulfilled our expectations of where to land. So yes, the super heavy booster for this flight will be, as both ships, both parts will be expanded for this mission, just to point this out. But the booster will at least try to perform the profile that it would perform on a booster catch. And we have heard hints and talks from Elon and everything that if this goes well on this flight, the next flight might see a catch attempt. It's there's still some question marks about it. There's also some regulatory question marks about it, because
Right.
that's probably needing another license modification. But the same goes for the ship. The ship is also going, if possible, quite further than we thought, because it will also, if you remember these early situations, these early flight tests, the flights of these, just the upper stages. The main goal of that was to demonstrate the capabilities to glide, to reach this terminal velocity, and then perform a flip and burn maneuver, where they ignite the engines and then basically bring the ship from a horizontal to vertical orientation. And if they go all the way through re-entry, that's a big if, that would mean that they are also trying to perform this flip and burn maneuver and vertically soft splash down on the Indian Ocean. So
and I guess
it's quite interesting.
And it would give them some confidence to know that if they were to attempt a landing in a future mission, that it might work. Emphasis on the might. And I guess that brings me to this question is, attempting a landing, obviously we're not going to try to grab anything on this flight, but if Flight 5, the desire is to catch the booster, that's a significant risk to the launch facility if it were to go wrong, and that could really derail the program, wouldn't it?
Yeah, it's the topic of some debate inside of the NSF team as well, because at liftoff you have a booster producing roughly 70 meganewtons of thrust. It's already built for quite a lot of energy. Of course, this energy will be, in the case of a booster fallback, differently built on the launch pad, but the booster will just be in the ballpark of like 300, 400, somewhere in that tons of weight, and it will only ignite a few Raptor engines. So basically we are talking about a kind of an empty can that is coming down, and this infrastructure is sturdy. Like the pad is extremely sturdy. It even survived the rock tornado of 1. The tower is sturdy. I think we are more worried about the smaller parts, like the chopsticks, for example. I do not want to see like the booster, I don't know, landing on one chopstick. I don't think that would go well. I think that's more like the smaller details, the cables, the carriage system. These are the kind of things we should be worried about in case of a missed booster landing. The overall infrastructure, like the tower and the pad, that's probably fine, pending how bad this could go in the future flight.
And again, we're not going to be attempting any kind of grabbing of anything today, but the plan is just to see if they can get a controlled entry into the ocean in such a way that the arms would work if they were there. So the booster will think it is going to get grabbed, and then unfortunately that will be it for the booster. Sad for the booster. Like you think, hey, I'm gonna survive this, and then there's no arms to catch you. How sad. But that's development for you there. So we are 25 minutes and change out from the T0 time. Adrian, everything we see indicates that we're on track there, and you can see that frost line growing on the outside of the booster and the Starship, which shows us kind of where the fuel situation is at. And as we were mentioning earlier, SpaceX's approach is kind of a load and go. So when we're watching the SLS, for example, we're fueling for hours. Here, it really is just a matter of minutes to get the rocket fueled up and ready to go. And you mentioned earlier, Adrian, that this is actually 10% faster than the last flight?
Yes. There's also some interesting capability which could be coming into play at this late phase, because we observed something on the wet rest rehearsal, which was the SpaceX on the wet rest rehearsal was conducting a roughly 30-minute hold, which the question now is that also the case for a flight situation? But that was something that was observable on one of the wet rest rehearsal scenarios. So if they should run into an issue here, it seems like they can hold for roughly 30 minutes or so before they at some point will run into a scrub scenario because of boil off and because of just certain limited conditions of the rocket. But that's just an interesting side note here, which we observed on the wet rest, which apparently has some capabilities here to hold.
And we have some updates from SpaceX as to what's going on. First thing we've been talking about a little bit this morning was the hot staging ring, which was a bolt-on, if you will, from the original design. Created some weight for it will in fact be jettisoned. The jettisoning procedure will be temporary, but future boosters will be integrating the hot staging ring directly to better balance out the weight. One of the things we talked about earlier is that the ring not only adds weight that creates complications for slowing the rocket down on the way back down, but it also kind of changes the center of gravity. So the plan for this mission is to jettison the hot staging ring on the way back down, but in the future they will keep the entire stack intact, just in two different vehicles, and reuse everything. So that is one piece of news that just got talked about from SpaceX. And the other is that the red team did have to go out to fix something at the pad quickly. Adrian, we saw some cars heading out there a little while ago, but they've of course cleared. So
yes, yeah, it seems like they had to go out there. I mean, it happens from time to time. This is a relatively new tank farm, with all the changes. It's I wouldn't say new. Okay, let's say it's a constantly evolving tank farm. And there's always a chance that something comes up that they didn't expect. It looked like more of a tank farm than a vehicle thing that they worked on, because they were more on. It was not on the vehicle stage yet. Let's word it like that. And we're also getting more news here that the ship is now past 70% prop load on the main tanks. Had a tank will be a bit later in the count, and the booster is at 38% LOX and 46% liquid methane. Right now they are working no issues with the vehicle, the range, or the weather.
Perfect. That's what we like to hear. So those are the three things that'll mess you up. And so far, all are green here. And if you are just tuning in, we are about 21 minutes away from the launch of Starship yet again. This is flight test number 4. And although it looks very similar to the last 2 or 3 that we watched lift off the pad here in Texas, it is actually a very different rocket. These unfortunately get destroyed after every flight, but the hope is to have a very controlled destruction there. So hey, we've got to run out to Das real quick. He's in Texas on site. What do you see, Das?
Well, Lon, currently not much, unfortunately. We're over here at South Padre Island. We're on top of the Margaritaville Resort over this way, and we can currently not see the rocket. Now, last time, Flight 3, I couldn't see the rocket at liftoff. I was at the same location, but it was clear above it. And so I got the experience of the rocket coming out of that low-hanging fog cloud, whatever you want to call it. And then I saw it clear all the way to the horizon after that. Today, it does not look like that might be the case here. Y'all were saying the range is green, the weather's green, the visibility from over here on South Padre Island is currently not green. It is very gray, actually. And I'm wondering if we're going to see it. Hopefully we see it burn through, because that exhaust plume is very bright. But right now, it is not looking good for our visibility over here on the island. 20 minutes coming up, right?
That's right. We're right at the 20-minute mark. And you know what? This, though, shows you just why all of the work that you do ahead of these launches is important, because there are cameras that we have that see very nicely, thanks to all the work that you did. We saw the documentary that Dee put together a few minutes ago.
That was fantastic.
That's what it takes. It was awesome. But that's what it takes, right? You could get fogged out if you only relied on one location. So how much sleep have you had in the last 24 hours?
Some. Actually, I'm not operating on zero sleep. Hopefully I don't get any comments down below that the guy in the hat looks tired. But no, we have crew here that we're setting up on the roof and handling everything, and I rolled up here like I'm ready to hop on camera. But we will see what happens. That is the truth, Lon. Like, we put all those other cameras out. One way we sort of approach is we just put so many cameras at so many different angles. Hopefully a lot of them have views. Right now, the ones over here on the roof, none of these cameras behind me can actually see the rocket, the blink of the pad, or anything right now. But I'll let it go back to you. I just wanted to let y'all know how it was going. All these feeds are live. Hopefully y'all will see something. Hopefully we'll see something. But clock is ticking.
Clock is ticking. You will hear it, though, and that's pretty cool in of itself. So we will get your reactions when it's all said and done here. We'll let you get back to work, Das. Thank you, you and the team, for all that's been put together here. And we'll catch up with you in a little bit.
All right. Thanks, Lon. Take it easy.
All right. Enjoy it. Enjoy it. So, yeah, sometimes the fog there can be crazy. So you can see our view here is perfect. We can see everything very clearly. The only fog we've got is rocket fog. from all of the condensing from the rocket. This is very much like a cold soda can. You're filling it up with super chilled liquid. Adrian, why does it have to be so cold?
Well, if it's colder, it's denser, which means you get more into the rocket, which increases performance. It's basically a decision that SpaceX has done already with Falcon 9, with going with super chilling their propellants, and they are doing that here as well to make sure they are increasing density, and with increased density you have basically more propellant. And you want more propellant because more propellant means you can burn more, which means you can go faster, farther, and with more payload. That's the quick answer here. What we are doing, why they are doing it.
Got it. Density is your friend here in this case, and you can pack more energy into the same space, and there you go. So we are about 18 minutes now out from the launch of Starship, and we are monitoring things here at NSF. We've got cameras all over the place that will deliver some spectacular imagery of the launch here as it progresses. But so far, everything is green. The range is green. Fueling seems to be going on schedule. There's no issues with the vehicle, at least not that we've seen. So we are good to go. And there's still some margin in the launch window. So the window opened at 7 a.m. Central Time, and that window continues to 9 a.m. Central Time. And we're looking at launching just after, about 7, right before 8 Central Time. So 7:50, I believe. So they still have some margin if things were to introduce some issues there. So there you go. We've got Booster and Starship ready to get moving here. And Alex has been monitoring things at SpaceX, and his heart rate is up.
Also, also his heart rate.
Yeah.
I'm so anxious right now. I'm like, boy, we are under 17 minutes.
I'm
I have
beating
had
you,
too
Alex.
many emotions back to back. I haven't slept, so my mind is still on Starliner from yesterday, right? That highly emotional flight with people on board going to the ice test. And now we have the world's most powerful rocket lifting off again. So of course my body's just like, I'm a wreck, right? Right? It's like so filled with nerves and yeah.
It is a lot. It is a lot.
Yeah.
And when you think about just how busy it's been around here, space events used to be once a quarter if you were lucky, right? And now we're looking at every couple of days something significant happening. This is obviously not a show or a stream about Starliner, but they did, I believe, clear it for docking or berthing with the space station a little later this morning. So that's happening today as well. So all sorts of things going on here as we count down in the last 15 minutes here.
SpaceX is confirming that indeed they are flying without those two tiles to test the heat shield, try to see what's going on when you have no heat shield on certain parts, and also testing new materials as well. So that is why it is missing those two tiles. That is something that we sort of expected already. They're not silly people, of course. They know that two tiles are missing, but it's all very well instructed. They have sensors everywhere, and they have data for that. So, it's a test mission, essentially.
Absolutely. Test of the re-entry component of the mission for sure. And we're going to toss it to Jack now, who is joining us out in the field. Jack, how's your beats per minute? Do you track that?
I do track that. Give me a second and I'll tell you what it is. Right now my watch is telling me the range is between 92 and 130, so a lot.
Wow, yep. That's passion for you. And that, what we need is actually like those astronaut biometrics that we can put up on screen for all of the hosts here. So so there's the crew, and we saw you all from the air a little bit earlier. So Jack, we've got some airborne assets today too, right?
Sure do. If Andrew would move his stupid face, he could see the drone sitting there. Yeah, there it is. But yeah, that'll be up in the air in a second after I'm done talking to y'all. But just wanted to check in from the field. We got another camera up here on the container. That'll be shooting a time lapse. We got, of course, the rig I explained earlier. We've got Andrew. We've got Adam. And we've got Sean. Look, the gang's all here. Oh, and Roger is over there. So yeah. But yeah, that's what we're looking at from River. A lot of clouds, but we'll see what we can see. There's a couple holes, so fingers crossed.
All right. Well, we will be keeping an eye on things. And Jack, thank you for all of the work that you all did over there to get things ready for us. We were just talking to Das, and it was all fogged in over at the hotel. But you've got some views there, so hopefully things work out. And we will let you get back to work because I know you've got a lot to do here as we enter the last 13 minutes of the countdown. And yell at those clouds. Maybe they'll go away.
Sure enough. Andrew, can you not? All right. Thanks, guys.
We'll talk to you later. So there you go. Jack is out in the field, and again, this is what it takes to get these things to you. You saw how Das was all fogged in over there, and Jack's got some somewhat better views there, but our cameras over by the pad are super close. So you will see this rocket launch without fog in the way. The only fog, again, is rocket fog. So we are going to keep an eye on things as we enter the terminal phase of the count. So, Alex, I know what your heartbeat is. What do you think the heartbeat is of those responsible for launching this rocket might be right now?
I could not imagine. I'm too like I don't know if I'm this nervous and anxious and everything. I cannot even imagine how they are. With all of their hard work and everything. It's crazy.
Although I feel like it's like astronauts. I feel like every time I talk to these professionals, they are way calmer than we are. Like they're like, oh yeah, going to space today.
Right.
And we are like completely nervous, panicking, like completely excited, and they're like, it's just another day at the office, launching the biggest rocket of all time.
And that's one of those things where you really can't appreciate what goes on with these rockets until you see one launch in person. So I saw my first rocket launch in person was STS-133, the Space Shuttle Discovery, and I have to tell you, my feeling, what I felt was almost like not terror but fear. Like whoa, like this is crazy powerful, and just the amount of control of that power is what is. I think something that I think is what makes this feel the way it feels for us, especially because we didn't build this thing and we are just observers here, but very, very trained observers of this process. And Adrian, I noticed at the top of Starship there are some Starlink antennas, aren't there?
Yeah, which were very important in bringing us back these amazing views we completely freaked out about the last time, because Starlink apparently was used to transmit these re-entry views. So yeah, it seems, and of course the hope is that at this point, this time this will work as well as it did last time, and we get some amazing re-entry views again. And also some updates here. The ship main tanks are at this point holding at 85%. The header tanks are loading, is underway. Weather, range, and vehicle are still go, and boosters at 7. Basically progressing as normal.
All right. That is good to hear, especially as normal as can be, launching something like this. And that's it. I mean, this is still an experimental, in development spacecraft. So there's a lot that will be learned here the further they get. And each launch has been incrementally getting closer to full reusability, which is part of the mission here today. So we learned just a little while ago that not only is Starship missing tiles on purpose to see how stainless steel there behaves in re-entry, it also has tiles that are thinner to see if they can get away with something less robust than what they have currently. So they're going to learn a lot on the way back down. And all of that, I'm assuming, was informed by the prior flight, where we saw some control issues and things breaking up on the way back down. But they did collect a lot of heating data on that flight too. So that's the mission here really is not necessarily going to space obviously is the mission, but a big part of this is figuring out how to get things back down. So we'll be definitely keeping an eye on things, and we're going to get, if the last launch is any indication, Alex, we're going to get some great views of plasma building up on the spacecraft as it re-enters the atmosphere.
Yeah. Hopefully we get to see all of those views. I'm kind of waiting to see what else we get on this flight. Yeah, we're essentially right now on those few final minutes of the count. I'm like looking at all the feeds and everything. You can see a very frosty ship there. Lots of venting from the tanks as they are very very cold. Propellant load sequence is essentially in the final few minutes, the final few percentages of those tanks being filled. Um, the OLM, the overall launch mount, is configured for liftoff with the opening of the clamps on the base of the rocket rotor. The rocket doesn't really it's not clamped at engine ignition. It just lifts off as soon as the thrust of the Raptors is higher than the weight of the rocket. So that's why they ignite the engines around T minus 3 seconds. It's staggered ignition in three banks of engines, and then at T0 they throttle up those engines, and once the thrust is higher than the weight, then the rocket starts moving. That's approximately 1.5 seconds, 2 seconds after that throttle up. So that is going to be the liftoff point for today's mission. But we still have another 7 minutes and 49 seconds to go until that, and a lot of excitement building up. Not just the propellant is filling up inside of Starship's tanks, but also the excitement everywhere. I'm trying to contain a little bit more my excitement, I guess, in my anxiousness. But there you can see regular venting from
hold back.
the from the yeah from the venting that we see there from the header tanks, from the main tanks as they keep being loaded. You kind of need to depress a little bit to be able to allow that liquid to be continued to be topped off and everything. So yeah, we are in a really great situation here with a countdown. So far so good. Like, I've been listening to the updates from SpaceX, and they're saying weather is green, range is green, everything is green. So far, smooth countdown. They had that issue, that little issue at the beginning, trying to ramp up and spool up the tank farm. That's why they had that small delay. But so far, so good. Ever since, very smooth. There you can see all of the people waiting to watch the launch.
Yeah. And it's a
So
little foggy
yeah.
there, so it's going to be hard to see things necessarily right on the ground there. But it looks like, yeah,
Oh, look at that.
it's a go here.
I know
Lots of
that face.
people out. so so it's a little foggy there, but they'll still get a show. They'll at least be able to feel that rocket when it lifts off. And it looks
As
like
they
the
say in
header tank.
Vandenberg, they'll hear a very beautiful launch.
Right. Yeah, the fog is just part of the routine, and sometimes it burns off, and this time it didn't. So we'll see. But our cameras are close, super close, so. Successful liftoff, gentlemen, but it looks like one engine is out, Adrian.
Yeah, it looks like they lost one Raptor engine so far. They are flying with 32 engines uphill so far, which is good. Like, there's some engine out capability on Super Heavy. They should be still fine.
Going through
Right,
max
so far,
Q.
Yeah, max Q.
Oh boy.
Oh, there we go.
There's
There's
our
the.
plume.
Oh, it's looking beautiful.
Passing through the smooth
Especially at this
sound.
hour.
The engine that they lost is also on the outer ring of engines, so in theory that should not affect the return of Booster 11.
Good. Because only the center 16 started, right? Hey, looking good
Keeping
so
up
far. Going
speed.
down range.
Yeah, looking good.
There we are
Oh
in the
boy.
interface. There you can see the one engine on the left. You can see it out.
Yep.
Yep.
So let me grab the timeline here as we are going through this here.
And for those who watch Falcon launches, you'll see that those grid fins are always out on the booster.
And the
I think this
interesting
is
thing is
engine
that
chill, right?
you'll be able to see those grid fins actually rotating ahead of hot staging because they help on the rotation of the booster. So watch out for those grid fins. They will turn. Well,
30
they might
seconds to
even
that
already
maneuver.
be turned.
They can see the engine chill, I think, right? Going on still
Yep.
on the vacuum engines.
Should be coming up
Kind of
on that
a
hot staging in just a few seconds.
And the good news is
there
we
it
still
is.
have 32 engines lit, so
That's good.
we haven't lost
Might
any
change the
further
timeline
engines.
a bit, by the way. Don't be worried
Yeah.
if the timeline change a bit, because the one engine is out. That might change a bit of the event.
There we go.
As we can see,
Griffins are rotating.
Yep.
Booster engine cut off.
hot staging.
And there's the ship ignition. And hot
Oh,
staging.
look at that!
All right.
Look at the Griffin rotating back.
And booster now going for the aggressive flip and boost back burn.
Yeah, looks good
I
on
see.
the boost back.
I see all the engines so far good. That's good.
The ship, all
And
all
also-
6 engines are lit. Going
Yep.
into...
And this is already better than the.
Oh boy.
Well, the boost back is already looking good, right, Alex?
That's
like
right.
the last time.
Let's see what happens. Also, watch out for the hot staging ring jettison as well.
Oh yeah, I want to see if that happens during the flip.
Let's see what happens. We're coming up on that end. You can see there on the speed. It's now coming back.
3
Shutting
engines.
down.
All right.
Yep.
I love that. I love that
And-
sequence of how they shut things down.
And
boost back
shutdown
and
of all
shutdown.
engines. And now let's wait for if they actually deploy doing a rotation. You can see the start of the rotation.
Oh, there you go. Look at that.
There we go. Yes, exactly that. Because
Hot
that
staging
means
ring.
they're doing that because the difference in like mass makes it now float away. It's kind of like a Starling deploy.
And it's
That
flipping.
is awesome.
You can see there the thrusters firing on the methane tank on the top as the booster rotates. So it's essentially sort of what we expected, right? That it will be jettisoned during the flip. Meanwhile, the ship is going into that near orbital speed. So everything, we had just that one single Raptor on the way up, but it still can do the job. It's a multi-engine vehicle. It can still do the job even if it loses one engine on the way up. Boost back burn looked to be good so far. I don't know about you guys, but
Yeah.
look well. Starship,
So
Ship
now-
29, continuing with its burn.
Now the important next question will be, of course we had a successful boost back burn,
Exactly.
and
yeah.
there will not be an entry burn. That's the one thing we need to point out here. Super Heavy does not perform an entry burn, but there will be a landing burn, and this is the simulated catch. This is what they are wanting to try here. So get ready for that simulated catch, and we want to see, correct me if I'm wrong here, Alex, all
Yes.
center engines, basically everything but the outer ring should ignite.
Yeah, exactly. All 13 engines will ignite for the landing burn. Just real quick before we go into the super heavy action, I gotta acknowledge the fact that I don't see any major tile loss on Ship 29. By the way,
Oh, true.
It's very clean.
Everything.
Mm-hmm.
This is amazing.
we should be seeing
I
already
mean-
those quick fins on super heavy starting to wiggle as the booster is already passing through 60 kilometers. So it's about to
the ti-
hit the super parts of the atmosphere.
The timeline is a bit later than
Oh,
it
look
was
at
initially
this.
planned. Oh,
Look at that.
That's
Whoa.
that's
That's
the
a
that's
cool
the
view.
forward
Oh,
that's the
see
forward
the
dome,
motor-
right?
You can see on the right above the engine,
The
way
Griffin
for,
motor.
for the ship, you can see the motors turning. Oh my lord!
That's
Yeah,
awesome.
Look at that!
That's the Griffin motors, right? That's the steering.
Oh, look
Whoa,
at that!
one.
Look
Our
at
facing
that.
camera. Woohoo!
So every
Oh,
time
look at
we,
the speed! The speed is going now down as it hits the
Landing-
atmospheric.
Landing burn should start up very soon here,
Yeah. Watch out for that engine.
and we want to see
graphic.
13 healthy engines.
Yeah.
I think.
Look at that contrail.
Oh, look at that.
Come on. Mr. 11,
1,500.
that grid fin's working really hard there.
It's giving it everything, and I think
Yeah,
yes,
okay.
we have.
Burning
There we
I
go.
see 13. I see 13.
No, there's
Yep.
one out.
Oh,
Oh,
12.
one out.
Down
12,
to 3.
12.
yeah,
Down to 3.
and
And
there was some.
That's
Landing.
water. That's water.
it's landing! It's landing on the water!
Splashdown!
Jeez! Oh my lord! Booster 11 landing on the ocean, and there goes the tumble.
There it goes. But that was what they were hoping
Amazing.
for, right? So that result was what they were hoping for.
Landing of Booster 11.
Ship has entered
And somebody
terminal
asked
guide.
earlier, where does
Terminal guidance. That means it is now on close guidance, trying to target that near orbital trajectory.
Okay, that's half the stage so far down.
Right.
RVAC shut down.
AVAC shut down.
And these centers.
And the centers burn a bit more.
Yep. And
so if we can unpack for a second what we saw.
And
there we go.
Shut down.
Shut down.
Once again, Starship makes it into, well, not full orbit, but near orbital trajectory.
Right. Close enough. And
and that means got.
Oh, there you go. Nominal orbital insertion.
Yeah.
Maybe a bit too early to celebrate, but if everything goes well now, we have a high chance of once again seeing some spicy re-entry.
There's definitely, it's already committed to a re-entry, right? It's already in that trajectory. Now the point of Ship 29 is to control its attitude. It's probably like me right now that I have to control my excitement, I guess, my attitude as well. This is so exciting. We had that booster splashdown, and now that ship back in orbit. Boy, that's amazing.
Now I did see some debris coming off of that booster on the way back down, so I'm sure they'll be looking at that. But it looks as though if they were trying to catch the booster, they probably would have been able to there.
Yeah, I mean, we had one engine out. Sorry, there's always this, there's this wave energy.
That's also the thing with the booster landing burn, that it lost one engine on the landing burn. It had 12 engines actually instead of 13, and still it made it. Oh, are those tracking views of the ship from the ground?
That's
after that, the booster was able to do its boost back burn. Oh, this looks like we're actually getting some views from the ground still, potentially from Florida, of the ship as it's up there.
Wow.
Yeah, so that's a view from some of our tracking cameras on the ground in Florida. But the ship, we just heard successful orbital insertion, so it's right where it needs to be, and is now going to continue on its way to coast until it comes to reentry. But I mean, the booster, successful boost back burn, jettison the hot stage, and then a landing burn. It looked like we saw 12 of the 13 engines light up, and then that first ever soft splashdown in the water. So a whole lot still to come. Ship now on its way to its primary objective of entry. That's going to be coming up in just under 40 minutes from now. So a lot still to come, but wow, what a 9 minutes to start this mission off.
And
so SpaceX sounding pretty positive there. Yeah, go ahead, Adrian.
Yeah, absolutely. And we have a treat for you, everybody, because we like to celebrate special milestone with special clubs. You know, our clubs are here, and this time we go swimming because it's summer, it's hot. So with the splashdown of the booster successfully in the water, we have some released merch that just popped up. I'm waiting for it to pop up here. Okay. But we have. Yep, I'm waiting for it.
You know what's also coming? The ship is coming down, right? Because it's already committed to that entry.
Oh yeah.
I cannot wait for those views of re-entry.
We are. It looks good so far. Well. Talking about commentator
But,
things.
we were
That's
talking
normal.
about the...
That's normal. Don't worry
Yes,
about it.
yes,
Yeah.
it's okay. Sometimes they lose a bit of signal here and there. It's also used in Starlink, right? So it's very experimental. Um, I guess today was like a testament of the engine out capability of a Starship. We saw Flight 1 engines being lost left, right, and center, and that was bad. Today is an example of, okay, they lost one engine on the way up, they lost one engine on the landing burn, and still it did work, right? That's the whole point. Falcon 9. So the thing with Falcon 9 is it could lose an engine on the way up, and it will still do the work on the way up, but not on the landing. Whereas Super Heavy can actually do both, and
Here we
it
go.
did the landing.
go.
So here is the merge celebrating that landing. Go ahead.
The Super Heavy
Adrian.
Swim Club. If you want to join that swim club, it's now available at shop.nasaspaceflight.com. Thank you, production, for bringing that up. And we still have a very, very, very small amount of Flight 4 and Flight 1 patches still. So if you want to grab the last few ones of that while you get this, make sure that this is the way how you can support us and how we can do it. Again, this is just about to sell out. I'm basically probably removing this like after I say this. So thanks everybody for supporting us. I don't want to talk too long about the merge here, but I want to make sure that yeah, it's the way how we can make sure everything at this works. Again, shirts, everything available at shop.nasaspaceflight.com if you like this, and that's the way how we can all keep doing this. Thank you so much, and let's get back to do we have some re-entry views again, like some ship onboard views, or is this oh god. Okay, we have no views at this moment. They're still waiting for the acquisition of signal.
Right, but we have data.
Signal, yeah.
And if we can, maybe we could go back briefly to that booster side of things. So this mission really was more of a test of returning versus going, and it looked as though the booster returned successfully.
Yeah. So they still, again, just because they don't have video doesn't mean that they have lost complete signal. You can see there the speed and altitude is changing. That is live telemetry from the ship. They just don't have live video. So those two things go in different channels. So yeah. Did we see the chopsticks move at all? Now that I'm seeing the chopsticks, yeah, they closed.
Ooh.
Because they are closed.
So was there a hardware demonstration on the chopsticks as well?
Probably calls for people operating to pull it.
It was low, not fast enough for catch. I'm hearing from the voice of some presence in my head.
But I would imagine part of the software simulation of a catch was moving, right? Like that's part of the system.
Yeah, the point that I will make here though is they moved, which they don't normally move. This close after a couple of hours, at least in previous in previous attempts. One thing that you could see, I'm scrolling through right now, is that they closed at the time of the booster catch of when that will happen. So I'm gonna go ahead and say that they were indeed testing the catch on those chopsticks.
Yep. So
because they closed.
I mean,
like I'm looking through, and yeah, they closed at the time of the catch.
I feel like the odds of seeing a catch on Flight 5 are like I'm not saying it's confirmed yet, but they're certainly rising.
They're a lot closer, right? Because we've not seen a controlled landing into the ocean before, so that was a major milestone reached here. And for those of you just tuning in, we are T plus now 17 minutes from a successful launch of Starship, and we have already witnessed the controlled re-entry of the booster section into the ocean, where it landed on the water and stayed upright for a period of time, and that part is complete. Now, Starship is essentially in a suborbital zone here. It is essentially in space, more or less, and we are waiting now for the next stage of this test flight and reacquisition of its video signal, although we have data coming in there at the bottom. Alex, what's going to happen next with Starship?
Yes, right now it's in that coast phase, heading on its almost orbital trajectory to the Indian Ocean. It should re-enter over the Indian Ocean about um, let me see, about 47 minutes after liftoff. So essentially 30 minutes from now, it still has a bit of a trip to get to that place. They keep not having video link, but they still have telemetry, as you can see there on the bottom. Speed and altitude is still changing, so they still have data. Uh, but hopefully we can get back that video. They can get that, and we can see those awesome views from space. But on flight 2, if you remember, we didn't have any onboard views pretty much after T plus 1 minute or so. So hopefully we get something this time around. Ooh, what's
That
this?
is that. Oh,
Is
that's
that
the
a
moment
replay of?
That's the
Okay.
replay of the team reactions.
Oh my lord. That's me saying 33, but then I look at the
Yeah,
telemetry.
yeah,
Like
that's my
people-
shock. You can see the
Yeah.
shock.
and I'm trying to see how many are lit. That was what I was doing there.
Ah, that's cool to see.
Yeah.
It's okay. Super Heavy can lose an engine as a treat.
Yeah, I'm counting.
I'm looking forward to see our reaction to the landing burn. That was a bit more violent, I can tell you that.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I saw some debris kicking up there towards the end. So I don't know. That may have been when we lost that engine as it came in.
That was like
so-
this is just
Look
us
at-
being
look at
very
Jack.
very.
Jumping. He was
Look at the
probably
team
telling the
tracking.
rocket, "Come on, move to the other side."
And again, we don't have signals right now from space. That's why we can show this because.
Yeah. As soon as we
Now
see
what-
SpaceX receiving video telemetry back, we'll put it here. But right now they don't have it, so.
Look at the team on the hotel, like 4 or 5 people just standing next to each other tracking.
So I'd love to check in with Dawson a little later to see what they could see, because he was quite concerned with the level of fog that they may not have been able to see much, but maybe they saw it punching through the clouds as it went up. I see Dawson looking for it.
Yeah, you can see them looking for it and like.
Right. I remember the last
amazing.
space shuttle launch that I went to, it went right into the clouds. So you saw it for about 4 seconds before it went up there. Hey, and while we're waiting for telemetry or visuals to return from Starship, I want to continue to thank everyone who's supported our efforts today and always. You've been seeing messages from people who've purchased merch in the store, and also those who have gifted memberships to others, and those who have generated super chats for us as well, or donated super chats. So thank you all for your support, because capturing the views that you just saw takes a lot of effort and a lot of equipment, and that's most of what you saw on liftoff was from our cameras. So it's an amazing effort. We had an awesome mini documentary that kind of showed you the passion of what our team has for this effort, and it was really fun to watch that. So Adrian, why don't we recap where we're at right now? We are T plus 20 minutes. Starship is in a suborbital trajectory in space. And what else is going on?
Well, who
well, we
wants to go
have
first?
we are waiting basically now for the ship to reach that re-entry part, which is expected about 26 minutes from now. The interesting thing now that SpaceX will at some point hopefully confirm is if the I'm losing my train of thought. If the attitude control system is still working, Alex, go with that update.
Yeah, apparently Elon is saying that they do have acquisition of signal in terms of the video. They have 11 internal cameras are transmitting, figuring out why external cameras aren't. So it seems like they do have video signal. It's just that the ones that are working are only internal. So yeah, they don't have any of those amazing external views.
And last time we were remarking how amazing Starlink was to not only give us those external views so well, but also to have them continue to work right through the reentry process. And that's what we're holding out to see that.
because what we should see, just like we saw last time, was the plasma building up on the side of the spacecraft or underneath it as it enters the atmosphere. So hopefully they get everything working before that point. So, Alex, what's going on right now as it coasts? Because there's obviously things they're doing, collecting data. What is Starship doing right now?
I think. Sorry, just a quick interrupt. I think there's a check-in with the Margaritaville. Hello, D. How was it?
It was loud. We could not see anything, but the audio experience was there. It was probably about 30 seconds to launch. The fog just barely started to clear enough that we were like, oh wait, I think the pad is right there, because it was the slightly darker spot of fog. We're all readjusting our cameras at the very last second, and we had some glowing for about, at most, 10 seconds. That was the totality of our launch experience. But I will say, up here, I do believe that I heard something with the booster well after we watched the stream as it came down to do that soft touchdown. We were trying to listen out, and I thought I heard a noise coming from the water.
So maybe a sonic boom.
It's what, 20 kilometers away. That's not like that's not impossible to hear a rocket, right?
Yeah, I have definitely heard like Falcon 9 launches from the St. Cloud area or around Orlando if it's a really quiet day. So I totally believe that we could have heard that. Yeah.
And
I'm doing the math.
And D, this is Lon. Sorry, go ahead. So D, this is Lon. I wanted to get your feeling on what it felt like, because obviously you could hear it, but could you feel the shock waves coming down?
A little bit. So this is the first time that I've been sort of around a larger structure. So this is my first time really at least hearing all the different objects around me being vibrated by it, and then feeling the ground move just a little bit more than you do if you're standing on the solid ground.
Right. Yeah, you're on the roof there.
Yeah. Yeah.
So D, I just did the math, by the way, and 12 Raptor 2 engines are even louder, or should be more powerful, excuse me, than a Falcon Heavy. So if anyone can hear a Falcon Heavy 20 kilometers out, you should be able to hear that Super Heavy landing burn. So
well, there we go.
Yeah, I believe you probably heard that.
Fantastic. Glad to have that confirmed.
Can we just put that quickly into context? The landing burn of this rocket is more powerful than Falcon Heavy. What?
Yeah, it's equivalent to 32 Merlin engines at full power. Elon says stereo camera comes online in 11 minutes. So there we go. We'll have cams back.
And the next major event is at T40, so we should see some video right as things are happening.
Yeah, T plus 47 minutes and 25 seconds. That is the ship entry on SpaceX's timeline. I have here the whole thing, so that's why I'm not looking at the camera. Don't worry, I'm not, ignoring you guys out there. I gotta keep track of where we are and everything. It's complicated to remember everything.
And we have a lot of information flowing at us at the same time, so it's been.
I have a question for D though.
Okay.
You heard Super Heavy coming back for a landing. Are you gonna be there for Flight 5 for the catch? Do you think they're gonna be doing a catch on the next one? Because, whew.
I don't know. I hope so. I will try to be as close as possible and have as many cameras as close as possible around the pad, because the last two launches for me have been mediocre, I will say, camera view wise. So if I can get all my cameras up close to try to capture a landing attempt whenever that happens, I'm in. I'll be there.
I cannot wait for your footage. Go ahead, Adrian.
Quickly want to also acknowledge your amazing behind the scenes video. We saw that earlier, and this was probably one of the closest I ever came to tearing up on an NSF stream.
Oh wow!
So
thank you.
That was an amazing video, and I really enjoyed that. So thank you so much for that.
Oh, of course! I'm glad to share those moments.
Less than 30 minutes after launch, people are back on the roadblock.
On the pad. Yeah, so the cops are back on the LBJ road there, so it looks like they're getting ready to inspect the launch site post-launch. And now this is the fourth launch from here, and the third one where there was, we'll get the full damage report in a little bit, but it didn't seem to be all that much debris kicking up from our cameras when we watched things. So it looks like a lot of those early issues that they had with Starship destroying most of the surrounding area has been rectified here. So we'll be seeing people moving in pretty soon, it looks like. So if you're just tuning in, we are T plus almost 29 minutes. We do not have video imagery from Starship just yet, but we're going to be getting it back shortly. And what we should see when we get that footage back is really the primary goal of this mission, which is to test all of the re-entry systems of Starship. That includes the thermal heat tiles, looking at how the ship can maneuver on its way down and hopefully have a controlled splashdown, if you will, in the Indian Ocean. Now, we did see earlier a controlled splashdown, if you will, of the booster, which did make it back, and it looks like achieved most of what SpaceX was hoping to, which is to kind of simulate a grab of the chopsticks over at the launch site, which is ultimately what they want to do for reusing this enormous launch system. So far, one part of the mission seems to be mostly successful, definitely a step along from where they were last time, and the jury's out right now on what will happen with Starship's re-entry, which will be a much more violent maneuver here. So Dee, thank you very much for joining us out there, and hopefully you'll get a better view on the next one. It was a little foggy. Thank you so much for what you put together, kind of really what the team puts in to make these launches possible. Hopefully we can see more of those in the future. I know everybody here loved it. I'm sure everyone in the chat did too. So thank you, everybody.
Of course. Yeah, thank you for having me. And yeah, I'll definitely be making lots more of those, and I'll see you next time.
All right. All right, well, hopefully the fog clears a little bit so you can see the aftermath there, and we're looking at it right here. Granted, we're pretty far zoomed out here, but everything looks intact. A little crispy on the pad there, but otherwise pretty clear.
I think the best testament of how well this pad fared after liftoff was that movement of the chopsticks. That I'm already calling it. They were testing the catch there. It was right around
Alex is
7
calling
minutes.
it. Close the case.
Yeah, it was around 7 minutes when they started to close. So yeah, that was at the time of the landing burn of the booster. But yeah, it seemed fine. I see the OLM is also fine as well. People came back to the roadblock less than 30 minutes after liftoff. So so far so good. Maybe they can launch really fast.
And we're about 9 minutes away from the next major milestone, which is the beginning of re-entry. So there we go. And I have word from the control room that we have another special guest joining us by popular demand. So why don't we pop up that surprise guest? Oh, look, it's Das.
Oh, yes.
What do you mean surprise guest? How is it a surprise that I'm on the stream, Juan? How does that work? Surprise. Hey, I love hearing a great rocket launch. I know you already heard from Dee, and we heard from Starship as well. It lit up. We saw the flames at the base. We sort of saw it going. The plume is so bright, like it burned through the fog just a little bit, but we only got a few seconds of visibility. But the sound, I don't know, this is like a thing that it's a theme for rocket launches, but sometimes when your visibility is not as good because there's fog or there's clouds or whatever, that additional mass of humidity in the air transmits the sound better. So when you sort of get like you lose out on the visuals, the auditory experience is enhanced sometimes. And let me tell you about the auditory experience we had, because that was the experience we had, was the auditory experience today. But anyways, that was fantastic to hear. And we were talking up here. The NSF team that rolls out and does all of these different things. We've got people all over. We've got cameras all over. So I'm sitting here, and on the one hand, I'm a little bummed I didn't see it. I'm excited that I got to hear it because it sounded really amazing. But we had fantastic views because there were so many cameras and so much work that went into it. So I'm torn. I'm a little bummed. I'm not gonna lie, right? But I'm also excited because we had a fantastic launch, and it's still going right now. Like Starship is still on its way, isn't it?
It sure is.
Yeah.
We are about, I don't know, about 7 minutes away from the next milestone at T plus 40, and we hope to reacquire some signals there. And Das, you know, I hear that our rapid turnaround on photography is still rapidly turning around, and we actually have a metal print already of Flight 4's liftoff at shop.nasaspaceflight.com. So the team is cranking away here. Even though you guys didn't get a good view, we did get views from other places that we were there. So good stuff.
That's okay. We supported, if that's the close-in view of the liftoff that Sean got from a Danger trailer, we supported that. Like, we got the trailer out there. We got the uplinks all ready to go. The power, like everything, it's all a team effort to get that stuff working. So the metal print exists because we all work together to make it exist. So I keep turning around to see if we can see the metal print, but...
Yeah, it looks great. I'm seeing it in the chat room here. I'm sure we'll get it in. There it is.
There it is.
Already available. So
nice.
That's how quick it turns around. This is why it's so important to get things like Danger trailers so close to the pad, because you know, with the fog being what it was, we couldn't get that from a distance there. So you can see the level of detail that came out of that. It is beautiful. So rapid turnaround here. I'm sure we've got more in the hopper already. So good stuff from Sean.
Definitely going to be more coming, and that's another trick. Like, one of our NSF party tricks is being able to get those shots back before you can access the camera. Like back in my day, you had to go physically to the camera and get the SD card out, and then you could look at it. And sometimes that was the next day or hours after launch or whatever. So one of the party tricks that we put a lot of resources into working on is the ability to get those shots off the camera before we can actually get to the camera. So we still have more things coming in from other shots, other cameras that were out there, and we'll share them as soon as they come in.
All right, we'll keep everybody posted on that. And Das, I am sure you are super busy out there getting everything broken down for the mission, so we can let you go. But I know the chat wanted to make sure you were okay. So
we are fine. So we think we heard the landing. The booster soft landing. We were hanging out. We were all trying to be quiet. We were like excited that the launch was still going, but we were also sort of like listening, and we're like, oh, be quiet. So our mics recorded. I don't know if our mics actually recorded it, but here on the roof, some long amount of time after everything had happened, we heard a rumble, and we think that what we were hearing, we need to do the math. But we heard a rumble, and we felt like we might be hearing the booster doing booster things. I guess inaugurating the swim club out in the Gulf of Mexico. But I don't know. We'll have to see if we actually heard the booster or not. I like that design, by the way. That design's fantastic.
Yeah, it's like, help me. And Alex did the math, and I believe you did hear it.
Really?
Yeah.
He believes you heard it.
You should have heard it, because I did the math, and it should be equivalent to 32 Merlin engines. And you know what other vehicle has an approximate amount of Merlin engines? It's Falcon Heavy. So if you can hear Falcon Heavy 20 kilometers out or 20 miles, like at that point, Falcon Heavy doesn't really matter if it's 20 miles or 20 kilometers, because it's very powerful and it's very loud. And 20 miles or 20 kilometers is still hearable, I guess is the word, right? You can still hear it. So if you could hear that, you should be able to hear Super Heavy boost, landing burn with 13. Well, it had 12, but it's still is like 32 engines. It would have been more powerful than if it had been 13. It would have been even more than Falcon Heavy. But yeah.
We were torn going back and forth because we had the stream up on the screens here, but we're crewing the cameras over here, and they're like, "Oh, come back and look at the screen. Oh, go back to the camera. Oh, hey, wait, maybe we should turn this. Maybe we should turn the microphone. Okay, back to the screen, back to the camera." And there's a cable here, and I had to go around this cable every single time so that I wouldn't, tear the camera off the tripod, and then just that would be an interesting view to see. I'll let y'all get back to it though.
SpaceX has external camera views back.
All right.
Nice.
So we should be seeing those very shortly. So yeah, we're about 3 minutes out. There we go. So this is actually 3 minutes out.
Yeah, this is actually one of the cameras that is not on the flap. The ones that we saw from Flight 3 was one that was in the flap. This is in the body of the ship near the nose cone. Actually, it's below the nose cone section. There's like a box with multiple cameras looking in different directions, and there's one looking at the forward flap. This is the forward flap there of the ship. The one on the right hand side of the ship, if you
Yeah.
can imagine.
Okay, this might be me looking for things, but this ship looks stable.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It's not
No-
spinning.
Yeah,
Right.
no spins.
Well, I remember last
no
time I
wheel.
had asked both of you if it was barbecuing because it was
Yeah.
spinning last time. This is a much different profile, isn't it?
It's holding, yeah. It's holding attitude.
It-
You know what is also holding? I was gonna mention this before with Das, but because he was talking about the cameras and everything that we have in the field, I've been told that our trailer cameras and everything are all good in good condition after liftoff.
Survived.
So they all survived, and our connections and everything. So, hooray!
All right.
Danger trailer lives to see another launch.
That's
Exactly.
right. And there might
Much
be
more
a
resilient
very
than the
short
band.
there might be a short turnaround this next time, right? There seems to be so far it's not gonna wait.
Yeah.
Things are in good
Both
shape.
of
So
the launch pad and of the trailer.
So
yeah.
with the booster touching down, I would say the booster has not triggered a mishap so far. Based on my knowledge about mishap investigations, the booster probably did not trigger a mishap so far. And they have a lot of outs on the ship. Oh, well, engine outs. Well, we'll see. But the ship has a lot of outs on mishaps where they don't trigger a mishap. And so...
If you remember the new rules, they
Yeah,
had
like...
an agreement with the FAA that if Raptor engines fail on the way down, they don't really count as a mishap if
But-
it's like within safety corridors and things like that.
But one failed doing up.
That's right.
That's like I'm pretty sure it's not a mishap yet. I feel relatively relatively okay that this might not be a mishap yet, and the ship is now the interesting part, because if the ship fails normally during re-entry, basically through failure of heat shield, that should not trigger a mishap based on the FAA updates. So that would mean, yes, they could launch as early as they have the next stack ready, which, I mean, let's be real.
They got plenty of rockets.
3, 4, like 3, 4, 5 weeks from now, we could see another Starship. So I hope everybody in the team is ready for another good time of preparing more assets.
Right. That's right. It's going to become a very busy cadence here, and they build these rockets faster than they launch them, so they've got many more ready to go, for close to ready to go. So we're going to bring Jack in a minute, who's out in the field as well. So I think he's going to be audio only for the initial go around here. I'm not sure if Jack is with us just yet or not, but when he is, he can say hello.
Oh, I'm with you. Can you hear me?
There we are. Yes. So what was it like out there, Jack? Can you hear us?
The sound was exceptional. I will say that the sound was really delightful. We had a few isolated little holes in the clouds, so we did get to see it ascend and pitch down range. It was pretty amazing, honestly. But right now is, in a lot of ways, the most exciting part of flight. Starship is about to start re-entering the atmosphere, and the big question is, will it make it? I mean, I'm excited. I'm excited to see that pink plasma glow start forming around the flaps. Go ahead, Alex.
I want to point out one little thing that we're seeing here. Do you see that attitude that it has right now? It is positioning itself on a high pitch angle for that reentry. It is bonkers.
Oh, there's the animation.
That is the animation from SpaceX of what we should expect.
It's like 60 to 70 degrees inclined, right? That's about the angle of attack we are looking at.
At least, so far, a few years ago for Milan, it was like 70 degrees or something like that. So that's what we're expecting in terms of the angle of attack of the ship.
Then that maneuver.
I can't wait to see if they get this far. I really want to see if they get that far, and I really hope that if they do get that far, there are some epic views from SpaceX of that maneuver, because it's been, I mean, what? How many years? 2 years? 3 years since we've seen a Starship do a flip and burn.
Man, I cannot
Exciting!
wait. I'm being reminded in the
completely
back channel
crazy.
that this is like the shuttle, also with a high angle of attack.
That's right. Well, the good
It's a
news
very
is that
subtle reminder, but yeah.
when we watched this the last time, we were seeing a lot of rotation. This is, it looks as though it's entering the atmosphere very close to the way that animation just showed us. So that's a good starting point. It's always good to start with a stable profile, and it looks like that's what we have here.
There's
and
the flap
there we
cam.
go. That,
The other camera.
Yeah, look at
And
how
we should
stable
start-
it is. Like,
yeah.
it's just gliding, basically heat shield forward here.
Right. And that's
Watch out for
what you
the
want.
altitude. You remember on the last flight we saw plasma as soon as it hit 100 kilometers, right? So we'll see.
Yeah.
And the
Huge
ocean
shout
below
out
is the
to the
Indian
AVI
Ocean.
and the software teams and everybody that's been working with us. We're getting more cameras on Starship, not just because it looks cool, but this provides an incredible insight into reentry, which is, you know, historically a really tough window to look
Starship is
through.
approaching entry
The
interface.
physics of reentry are insanely intense. One of my favorite NASA astronauts, Victor Glover, recently described it is with the forces and the flows and the temperatures, it's like pointing at a raging river in one spot and saying, tell me exactly what's happening right there. And like that's what a ship is experiencing as it goes through, as it's moving through the atmosphere at, you know, more than 5 miles a second and heating up to thousands of degrees. So just having visual representation, just being able to see what's happening is incredibly valuable. So these views are going to be through Starlink. We've got this one. This is in one of the forward flaps looking back. So if you see it rotating around, that's because, again, it's embedded in one of those forward flaps. So as we get through and we start to build up density in the atmosphere, this view is going to move around as the flap does. And then the other one we had a little bit earlier is looking at one of the other forward flaps on the other side. Eventually, we're going to keep adding more cameras to Starship, get a couple of different views from the outside of all the different areas. And then also eventually to be able to see payloads once they're deployed.
There we go. Yeah.
There it comes.
Here it comes.
Oh,
This
we
is
are in
looking-
for something here.
Yes, we are, and this is looking a lot better than it did last time. So we are stable.
Stable. It's very stable.
It was
That
very
is 3/4
interesting.
of the battle here.
It was very interesting to see already, you know, the effects of the atmospheric drag very high up.
Build as the ship is getting closer to the Earth's atmosphere. Now, let's talk a little bit about how Starship will survive reentry and itself.
Exactly. We've been talking about this entire flight test. There's 18,000 hexagonal ceramic tiles surrounding the bottom portion or the Earth-facing side of the ship.
Through 100 kilometers altitude, good altitude for entry.
Great call outs there. Now, during atmospheric reentry, the vehicle is going to see temperatures as high as 2,600 degrees Fahrenheit or over 1,400 degrees Celsius. So those tiles are there to help protect the vehicle from this extreme heat.
So
yeah, and the flaps will help control it. Now, one noticeable difference I see.
This is insane.
Hey, and remember last time when we watched this, a lot of that plasma was building up on that fin that we're seeing currently against
so
the body of the Starship. So now we're seeing it on the belly, which is where you want it to be.
Yeah, look at that.
Are we calling this stable? This looks really stable.
This is
they're confirming
stable.
stable reentry.
Yeah, like look, there's no movement.
Whoa.
Yeah.
This
and
is
what's amazing.
Wow.
That's so
and we're
beautiful.
getting video.
That's so beautiful.
Yeah.
I wish there was a camera in front of it filming it. Jack?
Hey man, you launch me into space, I'll do it.
Hey, you know what? We could all fit on this
going
one.
up the nose, and it is within expected numbers.
Oh, so we good? So you're saying we good?
We might get to see a flip and burn.
Yeah,
I
I,
mean,
think it's looking.
Don't get excited yet. The hard part is still to come.
Right.
This
Let's try to
goes
see
on
that
for
speed
20
going down.
minutes.
Because that speed
This
needs
goes
to
on.
go well down, right? It's
Yeah, this
still
goes
near
on for
orbital speed.
17 minutes.
Wow. That is a lot of. A lot can go wrong in that in that time span, but this is what this mission's all about. This mission was exactly what we're here to see right this minute, which is can Starship survive a re-entry and have a controlled, in this case, a controlled splashdown, but in the very near future, a controlled grab.
Oh, look at how hot it now gets. Like you can see how
hot.
the plasma gets more and more dominant of the exposure. Ooh.
Oh.
Wow.
Awesome view that we have here.
Starship remains on a good entry trajectory.
This is the same view that we had when we first returned from the coast phase. Again, this is looking at the side of one of the flaps. It's incredible that literally at the bottom of this picture, we're basically looking through plasma, which is just absolutely mind-blowing.
Wild, very wild.
This
now we are
is ridiculous.
expecting entry to begin here in about 30 seconds or so. Entry to splashdown is expected to last about 6 minutes long. And that flip maneuver should occur around about 10 minutes before splashdown. And such incredible views that we're getting.
Approaching peak heating region.
Ooh.
Great call-outs there.
And yeah, these views are absolutely
Look behind it. Look
Most
behind
temperatures
it.
continue to rise within expected region.
And in your bottom right-hand corner, you can also follow along with the altitude of ship as it's returning back to Earth.
Look at that plasma building up on the flap.
So once again,
And now you see, look at speed. Look at the speed. It's now starting to bleed.
It's going down. It's going down very, very fast because now it reaches peak heating, converts all of that speed into heat, and it goes down and down and down in speed. So, fingers crossed.
And it's still, I mean, we're not seeing a lot of reference points here, but it still looks stable.
Yeah.
I mean, at least in the telemetry data.
Insane.
Oh, there we go. Peak heating
All right,
region.
great news there, telling us
region.
that this is basically the hottest point that Starship should get during its re-entry. Now, the heat shield is working with the atmosphere for some free braking. Okay, the atmosphere is helping to slow the Starship down.
Yeah, exactly. We're not using any engines or thrust to slow the vehicle down. Exactly what Kate mentioned. We're just using the atmosphere and those heat shield tiles protecting the vehicle as it's coming through that high heat temperature.
Yeah. Now, this is another one of those moments that we have been waiting for. Right now, the ship is currently re-entering the Earth's atmosphere, and by all looks and all call-outs that we're hearing on the net, it is doing pretty well. Now, we do not plan to recover the spacecraft today, but rapid and reusable...
Because SpaceX, baby.
I mean, this is insane.
Look
it's
at that
bleeding off speed. Look at that speed.
It's already past the point.
Every time I think I've seen the most beautiful image that they've ever broadcast live, somehow they show another more beautiful image. Yeah, this is absurd. This is absurd.
This is the first time we see something like this. Every other spacecraft that we have seen is like, you see just plasma passing by a window.
Right.
This is actually the plasma interacting with a flap in the body of the vehicle.
Look at that. Look at this. Is almost like these.
Trajectory.
It's incredible to look at this photo and wonder, wait, is it real? Is it frozen? We can see so I was just going to say
Those temperatures have stopped increasing.
Ooh. Oh, that is great news. The temperature is no longer building.
Yes!
But I was saying, we have a little bit of indication there. We can see that streaking occurs and tells us that this is indeed a true view. So once again, we are looking basically through the plasma that is building up around the exterior of the ship.
And
look at the vapor. Oh my gosh. Wow.
I mean, just to recap what we just heard, they confirmed temperatures are no longer increasing, which means they are at peak heating.
Look at the altitude. It's been very stable so far. I think they're just holding it at that altitude and
to
just
slow down.
slowing down as it keeps being at 68 meters.
Yeah, you can see
Yeah,
the
they're kind
speed
of
just
using
scrubbing off.
They're kind of using the upper parts of the atmosphere where it's not as thick, because if you go lower, of course, the drag would increase, you would get more heating. So they're kind of like surfing. They're kind of like surfing all up here and just get the speed lower. It's insane.
And that's one way to manage this, right? Is to control how quickly you re-enter the atmosphere to keep the heating under control. I remember the shuttle would basically skid into the air, right? And on the way down to
it would do those big S
slow down
turns.
faster. Right.
You see some sparks sometimes.
So far, it's really well. It's like super stable.
What a gorgeous machine. Just using its size to its advantage to bleed off as much energy as possible.
How are we seeing this? How is this real?
Yeah, can we comment on how utterly rock solid this is? I mean, obviously it dropped out for a little bit, and then Elon tweeted that it would be back in 11 minutes, and then it came back, and holy cow! I mean, I presume. Whoa, that blue wisp or whatever that just came off.
That's
going blue. It's no longer orange.
It's purple. It's purple. I stole that from Sean. Holy cow!
Ooh, look at this one.
Holy cow!
Oh, look at the flap. Look at the leeward side.
Whoa.
It's like a rainbow. Look at that.
Oh, it's doing
rainbow effect.
Yeah.
We talked about this. We have talked about this for years. For years.
And now we're seeing it. Now you're seeing it live.
Oh my gosh. What is it? Oxidation?
And
wow.
Chris in the back channel saying it's the sparks like the shuttle did.
Look at the leading edge of the flap on the F flap. It's like glowing.
Is that burning through?
Oh my god.
I'm not sure if that's good or bad, but I like it.
Raptor engine chill.
Raptor engine chill?
Yep. They're going.
How long until the flip? I mean, I guess we're still at 65 kilometers.
Yeah, it's still pretty high.
This is still 10 minutes away.
Yeah, this is going on for 10 minutes more. By the way, I want to apologize for being completely unprofessional in this commentary here, but how can you not?
I mean, there's a time for professional and there's a time for unmitigated awe, and I think right now we are at unmitigated awe.
And we, this is something that you could never see live on a spacecraft before. I mean, the last time we saw this was just the last Starship flight, and I think that it shows you just the resiliency of Starlink here. We're in plasma right now and transmitting. It's amazing.
Right now they're encountering, so they have already passed through the maximum heating. Now they're through maximum aerodynamic pressure.
Whoa!
Look at that.
That's the prettiest color. It's green.
That's the most awesome. Look at that green.
Wow.
I might have a new favorite color. I might have a new. Even if it's a bad thing, I might.
Trajectory.
Good trajectory.
Wow.
Good trajectory. This is planned. This is all good still.
You're seeing little camera moves. That's the
oh my
flap
Lord.
moving
Look
as
at
it
those
continues
colors.
to maintain
It's so beautiful.
the attitude of the vehicle as it re-enters.
I mean, they still have control. The flap is moving. The flap is moving. They still have control during this.
And we're also seeing the altitude.
It will be like, oh, this is so unrealistic. No. This is like.
This is real.
Real. Yeah.
This is happening right now, right this minute. And if you look at the altitude now, the atmosphere is getting thicker, right? We're seeing that interaction. The altitude, the speed is reducing. The altitude is now coming down. So you're using the vehicle's mass and speed to its advantage, and that's what we're getting here. Wow.
I think
really scrubbing off speed.
Yeah.
I'm calling it now. I have a new favorite color. It's plasma green.
Yes, I'm with you.
Adrian, when plasma green shirts?
Oh, I'm seeing it.
There you go.
The liquid oxygen tank there. So probably preparing for.
Well, I think we can say at this point, certainly is 57 kilometers to go here, but the Starship's launch here has exceeded what happened on the last one. So this is that incremental step
this is
every
already
time.
A win in my book. Whatever happens after this.
Yeah, it's far up the winning scale. Everything after this.
Right.
Whatever.
I mean, everything's bonus now. It's house money. So this is the wow. Look at that. Now am I seeing am I seeing it on the other side of that that fin there? Did it burn through, or is it just coming around it?
It might burn through.
Well, they have talked about in the past that the flap hinges specifically.
Yeah.
Okay.
This camera view is looking right at one of the forward flaps.
Oh, that's definitely starting to go.
Yeah.
We're strategically putting some cameras around the vehicle to just look at the different areas.
There goes the pieces. Yep.
Looks like we got the flap starting to come apart a little.
Yeah.
You can do it flat.
Lose that flap in a minute.
You can do it
Yeah,
flap.
it does appear that we have a little bit of burn through there. We can see pieces of the vehicle flying off.
Just
What
a
a
bit
show
longer.
it has been. It's been like
I
watching
believe in you.
Interstellar.
15,000 kilometers. Come on, you can do it. You can
I
do
think we
it.
have a new T-shirt. The little flap that could.
Look at that.
It's hanging on though. So Jack, you were saying the hinges were an area they were concerned about.
Yeah, it's absolutely. Oh my gosh, how can I even focus? I'm sorry, Lon.
Sorry.
Yeah,
it's
the
okay.
hinges are hard.
How are they still here? It's
Yeah,
true.
this is still.
It stopped.
No way.
Wait.
It's
No
nothing.
way. I don't see plasma anymore.
Yeah.
You're right. 53 kilometers, 14,000 kilometers an hour. Rapidly scrubbing off speed. Oh,
Yeah.
give us another
flap
camera.
that really could.
Give us another camera. The best flap there ever was.
Right.
This
oh
was-
my goodness.
I'm
Yeah,
still thinking that they might have also lost
This
another
single
speed,
flap
another rock.
was the best flap ever.
Yes, it hung on. And you know what's great about what we just saw is that I think they probably collected a lot of good visual data on the failure point to know
Right.
how to address this in the future, especially the parts that hung on too, not just the ones that
They
burned
still
through.
have telemetry. They
Mm-hmm.
still
and-
have telemetry.
And look at the attitude. Look at the attitude of the ship. It
It's still
appears, at least
stable.
if the graphic is to be believed, the attitude is still, and we're rapidly scrubbing off speed. Did the glass just shatter? That's amazing.
Yeah.
I wonder.
The camera
I wonder.
protection glass.
I wonder if that's thermal shock. Like it was very hot, and now it is descending into the lower atmosphere, and it's becoming much colder, and it just suddenly shattered. Okay. So yes, a failure of
Nope.
the
There goes the
flap
signal.
hinge. Oh,
Telemetry is still going. I still have data.
Still got telemetry, right?
And
Oh, yeah,
and it's
there.
back.
We're back.
And it's back.
How is it back?
At SpaceX
It's hanging on.
are excited, as you can tell by the cheering behind us.
Jack, this camera
There's
needs
still
cleaning.
a sizable crowd here at
I'll get on it.
Control Center Hawthorne.
Get that squeegee out.
Splashdown
We
is
are so back.
expected
It's
in
like the
just about
graph.
4 minutes from now.
Yeah, right.
We're still
And we're getting it
we still
all
have
streamed
live
live via
views.
Starlink, which is
Starlink is doing
insane.
an incredible
Approaching
job.
maximum
It's
entry
crazy.
dynamic pressure. External
Max,
temperatures are dropping.
max re-entry queue.
Wow.
Okay, good news. Those
Yeah.
external pressures
Already
are
well
dropping. The question is,
down.
how much is the ship is left? We can't really
Can
tell.
they-
We can
That's
still
better.
see
How much do we got
some of
left
that
here?
particulate coming off.
Can they do a
and
flip and burn
unfortunately,
without
we do
one
have a
flap?
cracked
If
camera lens.
If we see a Raptor ignite, I'm gonna lose it. I don't care if it's one single Raptor igniting would be insane.
And you can see that the
Right.
speed is rapidly slowing down. That's actually really great
44
news for us.
kilometers.
We
that
want
should
the
be coming,
vehicle to
like,
be slowing down
Yes, then start the
before
belly flap.
Yeah, it's basically transitioning more and more to a complete horizontal.
Right.
Yeah, at this point, the most important thing on screen in a lot of ways is that attitude indicator for ship.
Mm-hmm.
We'll see if it can still maintain control with that poor
Yeah.
busted
I
flap.
see more
I see
sparks.
sparks.
Yeah. But it's still
Still
going.
going very
It's just a little sparky. It's still good. It's still good.
It's okay.
It's
yeah.
good.
Oh.
Up.
No big
I'll
deal.
just-
Still data. Still data. Look at the telemetry. Still data.
We good. We
Now
good.
Maximum
the
dynamic
altitude
pressure.
hasn't changed all that much
Maximum
here, so I
dynamic
wonder.
That is great news.
Okay.
Maximum dynamic
Maximum-
pressure being
they
the
reached
moment in which the
maximum
vehicle
dynamic pressure.
experiences the greatest amount of aerodynamic
Oh, now the
pressure.
altitude's coming down again.
Speed still dropping.
How?
We're now at 37 kilometers above the ocean.
Let's go.
I do wonder if with one
down in the
flap
water
like
in the
this,
Indian
and
Ocean.
it probably cannot move. I
Right.
do
We
wonder
don't
if it
have a live
actually
view
can
right
do,
now,
you know,
but because
the
we're still
flip
getting
to horizontal.
data and telemetry.
I feel like the forward flaps do more for the flip than the aft flaps. I base that on absolutely nothing. I could be completely wrong.
They still cameras.
That's-
The crowd very excited to see that view.
I'm sorry to interrupt you, Jack, but there's still cameras.
No, don't interrupt, please. This is insane.
Yes, and
How?
This is insane.
We are 31 kilometers away from the ground.
Closer to Earth.
2.5 minutes to flip.
30
Flip and burn,
2.5
baby.
minutes to flip.
above the Indian
Starship
It's
is
tipping
at
forward.
25
It's tipping
altitude,
forward.
Mach 2.
Mach 2.
Mach 2.
It's
Sounds
still
like
going so
vehicles
slow.
traveling, as we just heard, Mach 2,
It's
which
so.
is
Look
Oh,
at
there
that,
we
the
go. It's moving
velocity.
forward.
It's going
We're in
horizontal.
belly flop.
Again.
We're in belly flop. Do it.
here up. It is a little bit. Now T plus 1 hour.
It's
3
going a
minutes
bit
All right,
way
keep the engines
forward.
light.
into
I see
Starship
flame.
Flight 4.
It's a
hoping
bit forward.
that the ship
All
can
right,
hang on.
this is the part where we
probably-
listen to the SpaceX
probably
crowd.
hanging on by a couple of bolts and threads, but it's still going, and that is excellent news.
That
Through the speed of
deceleration
sound,
is
it looks
looking
like?
incredible. We're about to go under 1,000 kilometers per hour.
Yeah.
Starship
And-
is at 20 kilometers altitude.
Now, keep in mind that even though we can't see anything, the data itself is
Is
what
that flap
we
still
really
moving?
are
I
Starship
still
is subsonic.
see some.
subsonic.
Subsonic?
Subsonic. It's traveling below
Subsonic?
the speed of sound.
I see control.
He's moving!
Maybe.
You just missed? The flap is
That
still
movement means the flaps are actuating. I think we can see something.
what? Almost destroyed. The flap is
This
still
is a
moving.
nail biter. But we are, unfortunately, we can't see through the
That an
the
engine
lens, but
chill?
We're still getting the feed.
11
Starship is now,
kilometers.
11 kilometers over the oocean. All this data is incredibly important.
600 kilometers
We are
breaks up right
the
now,
same
Wow, it's still
altitude as
moving.
Yes and Hall.
It's stable.
actuating through the glass.
Unbelievable.
We are the same altitude as Yes
8
and Hall.
kilometers. 8 kilometers.
Through 10 kilometers altitude.
I love
Okay,
the
next
possible.
milestone will be initiation of the flip maneuver and landing burn.
I can't
No
believe
way
they're
this
still trying
works.
to
I
flip.
can't believe
On
this.
the
This
bottom
is
can't believe
No
they're still
way
trying to
this
flip.
works.
Screen for those 3 center engines to relight. They will gimbal or angle.
No way
so
this
that
works.
the ship flips itself back up vertical.
I believe in you, ship
and hopefully lands
29.
in a
I believe in
vertical
you.
You can do it.
And the crowd is very
Look at
excited
that.
to get this view of that flap still maneuvering.
That flap is
Through 5
just
kilometers
beat up.
altitude.
This
we're
might
still
be the
stable,
best
guys,
thing I've
right?
ever seen.
This is
It's
incredible.
Still stable.
For sure.
2 kilometers,
close.
less than 400
Fireflies
kilometers an hour.
Fireflies are such
Do
a
it.
good sign of life right now.
Yep.
Come on, buddy, you
But
can do
we'll
it.
Take it.
You can do it.
You can
20
do it.
kilometers to go. You're almost
Starship
there.
at 2 kilometers altitude, terminal velocity.
Landing burn startup for Starship.
Landing burn.
Oh my god!
All right, good news there.
What?
What?
Oh my god!
It did it.
Look at the. Oh my
It's
god!
vertical! It's vertical!
It did it!
Look at this
It
speed.
did it.
No way.
And
The
there's
water.
the, that's the
Was
water.
that the water?
I think that's the water. And it's floating.
No
Wow.
way!
The
There are
landing
no
burn
words.
shutdown was
They did it.
commanded.
There are no words!
They did it.
They did it.
Those
Fourth
crazy,
time's the charm.
hardworking people. They did
Yep.
it. Yeah, 4 times for
They pulled it
SpaceX.
off.
4 times the charm.
Yes.
Wow. I mean,
Wow.
it was a little bit use your imagination as you were going down with what we could actually
It did
see,
it!
but we were able to hear the
So-
ship did its landing burn.
Wow.
Wow. It did
So,
it.
Huh?
Did we lose Jack? I think we lost Jack, but that was something. So this, I guess you can't characterize this any other way than a successful flight from start to finish.
Yes. The
I mean, the
success
ship was a
is
little
the
beat up
wrong
on the way
word.
down.
Success is not enough for what which is achieved.
Right.
Hey,
I was watching.
Hey, that was the craziest thing I've ever seen in my entire life. That was amazing.
Yeah.
The road's open. I gotta go. The road's open. I gotta go.
Jack.
Go get those cameras, Jack. We'll see you. And by the way, that's another milestone. How quickly did they reopen the road? Yeah.
Yeah.